when people think of Quad Cities, I think there's still some confusion of what is it? Is it Davenport, Bettendorf, Moline, Rock Island, or beyond that? And so when they actually get here and then they actually see some of the things, I mean, we will get guests that come from, internationally or far away. And they're just like, oh, we thought of Iowa and we thought it was going to be kind of flat. It's going to be kind of cornfields. And it's really much more than that.
Where do you find a family of communities connected by the storied Mississippi River, where young explorers and dreamers, investors and entrepreneurs thrive? Where can you connect with real people living and creating in a place that's as genuine as it is quirky? QC, that's where.
I'm Katrina, your host with Visit Quad Cities, and this episode of QC That's Where is going to be kind of focused on placemaking and resident pride, and I'm so excited to have Maria Ontiveros, the president of Mercado on Fifth, and Nancy Ballenger, the vice president and GM of the Isle Casino Hotel Bettendorf. So hello, ladies. How are you both doing today?
Doing great. Trying to stay warm.
Well. Yes, doing well.
Yeah, we were just talking. It's winter here in the Quad Cities now, and we got some very beautiful snow, but that's what we do here in the Midwest. So let's just start out. I just kind of want to get listeners in the loop. At the end of 2022, Visit Quad Cities, the DMO of our region, we held an annual event called Destination QC, where we talked about the milestones, accomplishments, obstacles, kind of a future outlook, had that presentation for all of our shareholders and community members. And Nancy and Maria, you both were on a panel to kind of talk about, your perspective and your impact on making the Quad Cities a must-see, must-visit destination. And I feel like we just barely scratched the surface in that conversation. So I want to kind of resume what we were talking about in that conversation was the braggability score, if you will, of the Quad Cities. And so our MC, Denise Hanitka, asked both of you, what do you brag about when it comes to the Quad Cities and sharing what you love and do about where you live? So can we start there? Maria, if you want to start, what do you brag about when it comes to the Quad Cities?
Well, I always brag about the river. We have such great river trails that you can walk on, bike on. Now we have several places to cross over the Mississippi, over pedestrian bridges. And soon there'll be an elevator to take your bicycle up to our brand new bridge and cross that way. Also being on the river, there's the Channel Cat on the Mississippi, a ferry boat taxi. There's also canoe and kayak rentals for the Rock River, which my parents live on. My husband and I love to go paddle boarding as well and pontoon boating. So when you're in the Quad Cities, you have to engage at the river, on the river somehow. It's a must do. Also our River Bandits baseball team. It's the stadium is right on the Mississippi, and it is gorgeous. One of the coolest places to watch a baseball game. And then there's, the Quad City Ale Trail. I think there's 18 breweries on the Ale Trail now, which is incredible for a community our size that we can support that many local producers. And they're all such quality places, unique atmospheres. And the Mexican restaurants. I love to brag about our Mexican restaurants. Being part of Mercado on Fifth, we've helped to develop a lot of new Mexican restaurants, but there are so many here in the Quad Cities, and residents that we don't really notice it anymore. It's just part of our culture, but it is very unique. Just smack down in the middle of the Midwest, and it's every 2 blocks you have really authentic tacos and everything else. But I'll stop there. But I could go on.
We can keep going.
Yeah.
No, I agree with everything that Maria said. I mean, when you think of our global asset, the river, that's so major. I mean, when you think about people coming here, we take it for granted. But there's, a whole family of communities that we have. We call Quad Cities, but it's beyond Quad Cities. So when you put that all together, there's just so many activities, over 1,000 festivals every year. There's entertainment scene, especially, there's live music, which I think is really unexpected when you think of this market. And it's so cool to be able to have all those different options and all those different genres of music. And so I think it's almost the unexpected, as part of Caesars, we host some meetings. And so we get people that come from Canada and some other areas, and they're just like, oh, wow, we didn't expect it to be this big and have all these different options of things to do. So I think it's almost that unexpected fun thing that happens, whether it's the Mississippi River, going to a festival, the Mexican restaurants, or any other kind of restaurants, or the breweries. There's just that unexpected cool vibe that happens because we're Midwesterners. We're friendly, we're fun, we're authentic. And I think people feel that when they come here.
I'm going to chime in on this too. So I'm originally from Michigan. I've been living here for about 10 years, and I would come here all the time as a child because I have extended family and relatives here. And I always found it to be so cool. And I would tell my friends about this when I would come back from vacation in the Quad Cities. I'd be like, man, you can get from Iowa to Illinois in 5 minutes. You can just, hop over a bridge, whatever. And that's what I continued as an adult to tell people when they would come visit me. We can hop on some bikes and bike over Centennial and then back over the Arsenal Bridge, and you can visit 2 states in a half-hour period. How cool is that not a lot of people can, say they can do, unless you live in that 4 corners of the Southwest part of the country where you can stand in 4 states at once. I love stuff like that. But would you guys be able to maybe pick out an asset in the Quad Cities that is underrated or maybe not as well known?
It's some of our downtowns. I think, downtown Rock Island, I'm a little biased. My husband is working to revitalize downtown Rock Island, but there's so much that's already there. Some of our favorite places to go are down there, and it really surprises me when people I meet have not heard of these establishments, like Roz Talks or Wake Brewing, are 2 of our just go-to spots on the weekend. And we've got a lot going on in all of our downtowns. Downtown Bettendorf as well, up and coming. A lot of people are like, wait, Bettendorf has a downtown? But there's really great things happening in addition to the Isle Casino where Nancy's based out of. So
yeah, and I think I'd just go back to some of that, unexpected. When people think of Quad Cities, I think there's still some confusion of what is it? Is it Davenport, Bettendorf, Moline, Rock Island, or beyond that? And so when they actually get here and then they actually see some of the things, we will get guests that come from, internationally or far away. And they're just like, oh, we thought of Iowa and we thought it was going to be kind of flat. It was going to be kind of cornfields, and it's really much more than that.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's so much unknown. It's just more of that unexpected, and thinking of, just what is it really? Because it's so many things. And I think we're doing a great job of narrowing in on those messages and getting much more targeted to how to talk about it. But I still think, there's just some of that confusion or just uncertainty. So it's usually, oh my gosh, it's more than I thought. It's rarely, hardly ever oh, I thought it'd be more. It's usually, oh my gosh, it's much more than what I thought.
So you, Nancy, you've spent some time working on the QC That's Where campaign, which for those who don't know, it's a partnership with the chamber that really it's for everyone to use. It's a campaign, it's a phrase, QC That's Where, fill in the blank, and then we can pinpoint some of our well-known, attractions or lesser known assets. So Nancy, do you think that QC That's Where has kind of given us a competitive edge when it comes to, other destinations or other places people could go?
Oh, I definitely think so. It is really clear. It's simple. It's absorbable. I see it on signs. I see it in buildings. I see it in advertisements. I see people talking about it. Going to events, it's usually present. So, wow, I think it's just, I think it's got a lot, much more potential than what it is currently at, but it's such a great place to start and to get that momentum going. And it's really the first time that I've seen things knitted together, that really the whole community has gotten behind, the whole region has gotten behind. And I think it's fantastic.
I've seen it like on social media. So that's what I do for Visit Quad Cities. I'm their digital marketing storyteller. And so I'm all things social media, constantly looking at all the platforms. And I've actually seen people using it just on their own, free will, if you will. And it's not even just like businesses or people that we've specifically asked to use it or have encouraged to use it. So that gives me, hope that it's catching on and that it's easy enough to use and implement in literally everybody's world, if you will.
Yeah, it's so flexible and portable and
Yeah.
easy to, like I said, easy to absorb. I mean, everybody can fill in that blank, and there's so many variation to it, and so many of them are really, really fun.
I think it also encourages people to say that they're from the Quad Cities and expect the question, where is that? And, and be ready to answer it. I think previous to this campaign, a lot of people will just say, oh, I'm from Davenport because maybe it's more well known, or I'm from Chicago. Just, 2.5 hours away from Chicago. Or choosing one city, but because when you say Quad Cities, there's a lot of people that are like, huh, what's that? But now we're prepared to answer and proud to get the name out there.
I think that campaign can help with that braggability score. I was talking with Kai Swanson, the immediate past chairman, recently, and he was referencing that 48%, residents aren't willing or are willing to brag. So what about the other 52? And he was saying, maybe to qualm that, we need to start saying, oh, you haven't you haven't been to a QC River Bandits game, or you haven't been to such and such restaurant, kind of giving that spin can help the attitude, I think, of people who are just like, oh yeah, we have, oh, take this for granted. We've got, more Mexican restaurants in Moline than the entire rest of Illinois, right? Per capita. I love that stat you shared at Destination QC, Maria. I was like, oh my God, it makes sense because I see it, but I just live in it, and it's just part of my daily life. But what do you think we could do to encourage people to want to brag about living here and kind of turn that 48% on its head?
I think it starts with the kids. I grew up here, and there's not, I will say it's getting better, but there's just not a ton to do if you're a teenager. And that's the years that you start thinking about the future. We can really increase the number of boomerang kids who, leave for college and come back if their adolescent years are really positive, and that they're getting a good experience, because it's their first years that people are learning how to drive, and that they're off on their own. So we need to have places where kids can go, as they're first getting away from their parents, and just create their own relationship with the Quad Cities. Because prior to those years, they're just kind of following their parents around. But their first years when they're off on their own, I think that's when we can really sell them and get that braggability started early.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the experiences in Quad Cities have changed in the last few decades. We certainly are manufacturing, but I think we're moving well past that. We've got great manufacturing, but when you think about, like the casinos or some restaurants or some hotels or some, TBK sports complex, that's a game changer. And, back to Maria's point, I mean, my daughter's 15 and she spends a ton of time at TBK and has a blast. And so now I think it's changing. I knew when I grew up, there weren't as many things to do around here. And so I think organically some of that stuff's happening. And then how do we talk about that in a more positive and broader way that people really do get behind it? And then I think it's sometimes going to other places where like, oh, I thought this place was going to be really cool, not in Quad Cities. And then you come back and you're like, actually, Quad Cities, we already have that.
Yeah.
So trying to think about it a little bit differently than maybe what you thought about it before. So I think there are a lot of positive things that are happening, and hopefully, that'll just start to take even be more entrenched and just be stronger over time.
And then also like helping people know, like teaching and leading, helping people know what is here. Because it does take, when I first moved here, I had kind of a little bit of help just because I had family here and, people willing to show me around and stuff. But, there's a learning curve when a person comes in. It's easy to just drop down the middle of a town and go, okay, what's around me? What am I seeing? I have a toddler, and I went through a phase with him where, okay, I can't take him to anything like structured or organized because he'll just run. And, I can't necessarily set up play dates with him because he's just too little. It was just kind of an odd phase. So I was like, okay, I'm going to just, get into the mind of somebody who's brand new, exploring everything, and see what I can take him to. And I ended up coming up with a pretty good list of things that weren't necessarily like, oh, bring your crazy 1-year-old here, but, stuff that worked for it. So I found that there's a section of Modern Woodman Park where you can go buy a ticket and just go, and it's the berm, it's the grass, and he can just go back and forth and nobody cares. And the malls are great because it's sheltered, it's inside, just stuff like that. Freight House Farmers Market, there's a new QC toddler zone asset where they set up like safe portable blow up things and little toys. So I was like, okay, there's a lot of stuff here, and I just have to open my eyes and not be afraid to ask, hey, where do you take your kids? So I think people go through phases in their life, like you said, Maria, then there's the teens, like where do they go? What do they do? And luckily we are seeing at Visit Quad Cities more and more, companies wanting to come and grow here, like TBK, they're building that new indoor golf facility. Like that's huge. And it's something you can see from the highway, which is also going to be a great asset. People driving by can just go, oh, what's that? I think I got an hour. I'll stop in and check it out, stuff like that. So I guess, Maria, I'll throw it to you as far as, Mercado on Fifth. It's a family friendly weekly in the summer marketplace. What are you seeing the snowball from Mercado doing as far as resident pride and stuff to do?
Well, our goal was to increase Hispanic cultural pride, and we've definitely done that. And it turns out that everyone is proud of Mercado being here in the Quad Cities. So that's pretty cool. That's the snowball, I would say. We've seen, going back to the teens, we've seen teens come out in their cowboy boots and their traditional Mexican blouses and really proud to be Hispanic in that space. And we have a platform for the children ballet folklorico dancers to perform. We've had young musicians perform, high school age musicians perform. So it's a great platform. Now we've got the mural on the building. So when we're not in season, people can drive by and just really feel like it's a welcoming and cool place to be. I actually just heard from someone last night that said they almost got in a car accident right in front of our building because they were looking at it. So pretty.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, that is such a great, just tribute or statement.
It's right on, the building is right on an intersection, right? It's 5th Street.
4th Avenue and 12th Street.
Thank you. 4th Avenue. I got my avenues and streets mixed up, but yes, definitely take a gander at that. You really can't miss it. It's so bright and beautiful, and it's at an intersection. So next time your friend is driving by, they can stop and just, let the traffic behind them wait for a moment while they take in the beauty.
Or just pull over and, come get a taco. We're going to be trying to be open, more days a week now that the building's there. So
Awesome.
Yeah, what's coming down the pike for you guys?
Well, now that the building's open, we're already renting it out to private events, and then we have some indoor markets that we've held almost every weekend. And next year we're just trying to figure it out. We may have some salsa nights or cooking classes. We're definitely going to use it to prepare for the Dia de los Muertos parade, which was a huge hit this fall. It has large garage doors where we could pull floats in and out. So we hope that different businesses in town will want to create their floats with our resident artists and use it as a team building exercise. Yeah, so think about that, Nancy.
I am. I just made a note.
Yeah, so that's really what we'll be working on, just continuing our mission of helping to build small and minority-owned businesses. Next week we're going to be celebrating a ribbon cutting of a business we helped start. They're moving into downtown Moline, into a brick and mortar spot. So just continuing that mission of hand holding with these businesses, and yeah, expanding our dates so we can impact more people. And yep.
It has really taken off. And how many years going now? This was your 5th summer?
We started in 2016,
okay,
but we skipped 2020. So
yes. Okay. That's the year we all just want to forget happened. So Nancy, and then you are now, a Caesars property. So what does the future hold for the Isle?
Yeah, I mean, being part of Caesars entertainment is pretty crazy when you think about back in 1991 when Riverboat Gaming kicked off, and now to be part of the largest domestic entertainment company is amazing. So lots of things. Having access to all of our properties in Las Vegas, which we have 10 of them, and all the properties across the nation is really, really fun. Players can play here and be able to do many things at those other properties, as well as our employees, right? I mean, we get people transferring in from those properties. We get people going out to those properties to get more experience. So it really opens up opportunities for our employees too, and to get other people, like I said, to come to the Quad Cities. But having access to all the things that Caesars Entertainment offers is just amazing. So we're excited. In March, we're going to transition to fully integrated Caesars property. So Caesars Rewards, you'll be able to earn things here and get tickets to whatever in Vegas or around the country. So we just think it gives a lot of flexibility and opportunities and options for both our customers and our employees.
When you look at Caesars properties across the country, would you say that the Bettendorf location is unique just in its, being on a river? Like, I don't know how many other properties can say you can literally look across the parking lot or out a window and you can see a big, beautiful body of water.
Yeah, there's several along the Mississippi, only because gaming, it started outside of New Jersey and Nevada. It started in Iowa. So then it migrated to Illinois and down to Mississippi. And, a lot of those properties then were along the river, and some of them have stayed on the river and some of them have moved off. So it's really a blend. But I think when you think of some of the larger markets, meaning Las Vegas and Atlantic City, those I think will always be like, oh yes, that's where it's been originating and came from there. But don't forget, now down in Florida, we just announced a partnership to do a casino in Times Square in New York. So it could be Caesars in Times Square. So that'll be fun. So yeah, it just continues to proliferate and go into different marketplaces. And with sports betting, you add that onto it, and it's just becoming, just another entertainment option to use discretionary income.
The Quad Cities is an interesting location too. And Nancy, I've talked to you about this before when it comes to casinos, because there's 3 casinos. And I remember we discussed whether it was a pro or a con to have 3 in one region. And what do you have to say about that?
Oh, it's definitely a pro. I mean, people want to have different experiences. And thankfully, I think we're all slightly different. So that's great. You can come in, you can experience all 3, you could stay at all 3, and go to Iowa or Illinois. So I think anytime you can offer different experiences that are unique, it's just better for the customer, it's better for the marketplace, and it helps us all.
With the community growing, people are moving back here, they're spending money here. Maria, you guys have helped businesses start. I mean, it just shows in both situations that there's room for everybody, and there's room for more of what we want to do. Right? there's room for more businesses. There's room for, more tourists, more travel, and tourism is something that we at Visit Quad Cities, we like to educate on. It's not just, oh, go somewhere and have a good time and, experience something new, but it's actually, it's a great, revenue builder for our community. It boosts economy, it creates jobs, it instills resident pride, personal pride. So huge thanks to both of you for what you do and your leadership in this community. And on that note, you both, it's worth mentioning, were the very first official recipients of the Destination Impact Awards, which were handed out to you at Destination QC. So we were very, very excited to have you both on that panel. And thank you so much for sharing your insight today. Is there anything else that you guys would like to discuss on this podcast, or anything else that would be worth kind of diving into?
No, I think we're just so excited where Visit Quad Cities is going forward with so many different unique initiatives that, whether it was the glass globes that were hidden in the parks, to the ale trail, to the coffee trail, to, I'm sure there's more trails that I missed, but
there's always more trails, right?
But just bringing some new things to engage different, I have to guess I call it residents or customers, right? Because I think it's really expanded that net and got people more involved. And I think that just goes back to building that pride and that braggability and just reaching out to involve more people, which is so exciting and just, really, really moving things forward. So, from my perspective, it's all great.
Yeah, Visit Quad Cities is doing a great job getting everyone on the same ship. As Dave says,
Right.
Like that event, Destination QC, everyone left feeling like, oh, I need to do a better job bragging in the Quad Cities. And so the more events that we have like that, just the more, everyone's on the same page. We can keep moving forward. That Visit Quad Cities is doing a great job, not only with their own events, but the Certified Tourism Ambassador Program, getting all of the frontline hospitality staff to know what's going on in the Quad Cities and just being familiar with all the great places, and being, ready to tell our guests, how to enjoy their time here. I think we're in a really great time for the Quad Cities, and now we've got all these opportunities with the riverfront, with the new bridge and all the path that it left, or that the old bridge will leave. We've got a lot of great opportunity, and the cities are on board to do some really cool things. So it's going to be a great next decade.
I think so too. And, I've heard from my parents lived here when they were growing up and into their early adult years. But, I've heard that in the past, the cities didn't necessarily work together as a unit, as well as they do today. And I think that that's a huge contributor to why we are moving forward in such a successful and optimistic direction, is that, the Quad Cities, as we were saying earlier, isn't just for cities, divided. It's a community of dozens of villages and towns and cities working together. So we're super excited about what's to come, next year and in the years to, follow the next decade, as you said, and more. So, but yeah, thank you both so much. And I am going to, per tradition, throw it back to both of you to fill in the blank. QC, that's where. Maria, would you like to go first?
QC, that's where the weekends start on Fifth Avenue.
Love it.
I have QC, that's where friendly, authentic Midwesterners are ready to welcome you.
Aww.
Beautiful, beautifully said. Thank you both so much. And for everyone listening, you can keep up on all of the events happening around the Quad Cities. Visit quadcities.com. Just hit that events tab. It updates daily. We've got so much going on, and we hope to see you on our website and back on the next episode of this podcast.
Thanks for listening to QC, That's Where, a podcast powered by Visit Quad Cities. Text Visit QC to 38314 for insider events, activities, and updates sent straight to your phone. That's VISITQC, one word, to 38314. Message and data rates may apply.